So we're gonna do a little bit of multitasking. All right, so Isaac, let's start.
Welcome everybody. Welcome to another. Who's talking?
You're talking.
Oh, I heard myself. Welcome to another show of the Jeong brothers doing their little shenanigans. Anyways, we got some stuff we want to talk about today. A whole new setup. It's really different. It's really nice. At first, I was like, Josh, are we really doing all this shit? I think no,
like doing whiteboard. But yeah, just to tell you briefly, so we have an overhead shot here, and we have some practicals in the back, and then we have our LED lights, yellow LED lights just shining on the ground. And yeah, it's just a little bit of more cinematic look, I think, because like last time we took, it was all like blown out in terms of the color and contrast. So I was like, oh, I don't know how to change the color. Everything's like so powerful with the green color. So I just changed a little bit, but I hope you guys like it. Yep.
Great. All right, what do we want to talk about first? Well, let's talk about, do you remember any of the AI stuff?
Yeah, AI stuff, yes. So I did some research on AIs, mainly because AI, I think, in my opinion, it really helps people to save some time. Some people are saying, this will take over all the jobs, but in my opinion, I don't think we're at that stage yet. But what it can really do is really save some of the times for the editor. So that's how I looked at it in terms of that angle. So what I found in the Premiere Pro, this existed in DaVinci Resolve, but recently Premiere Pro included a feature where, let's say an editor finished an entire timeline or what you call sequence, and then you just combine it and exported it without the coloring. And originally in Premiere Pro, you had to like look through the entire clip to see where you have to cut, but you no longer have to do that. There's a capability where you can actually just click two buttons and then it'll just cut it for you. So that's the function of AI. I think is very useful for editors. It saves a ton of time. It really like just example like this podcast itself, this machine that we're using, this switcher, it will actually just have a non-color timeline, and the editor had to like go through it one by one, but they no longer have to do that because of that capability. Another thing that I found is, which is very neat, so sometimes when we use stock videos, stock audio, stock background song.
Yeah,
background songs. What happens is like sometimes it goes over 1 minute of the song, and then it gets cut off, and then that's really annoying because like then you either have to like
look for a whole new
music,
try to chop it and like make sense of it. Put like Frankenstein the whole song and it's like offbeat.
You no longer have to do that anymore because there's another AI function. It recognizes like where it kind of cuts off in terms of the pattern of the song, and it can restructure for you within the time frame of the video.
Is it the remix tool you're talking about?
I don't know what it's called. I can look it up right now.
It's a different tool.
Yeah, it's a different tool.
It's within Adobe Premiere Pro?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
It's within Adobe.
Yeah. I think you're talking about the remix tool.
I think it is, yeah.
So stretch it up, right?
You stretch it up, exactly. Let me just double check.
Don't quote me on this, but
yes, it is sound remix tool, so you're right. So that's it's a functionality.
Right. Yeah, I saw that on Instagram.
So yeah, I mean, in your opinion, what do you think about AI in general?
Well, I think one example is when you showed me that we can just write simple emails using ChatGPT. It wasn't perfect, but it got 80% of it done. And for me, sometimes when I know I have to do 20 things for that day, just like that simple email is like on my mind the whole day.
It's a headache.
It's a small thing I need to do, but it's usually for Isaac. I don't like doing the small.
He said
it's just annoying. But I think if you use it that way, then you're not really stressing out over those small things. You can focus on the bigger projects or bigger picture and rely on AI that way. I think there's still limitations, like the tool that you showed me yesterday, the PowerPoint creator.
Yeah, the part.
That I think, it would be great if it can design everything, like even to the point, like if it can design videos, like the style of it. Of course, there has to be a human element to it, but if it can design even like graphic templates, kind of like what Canva has, but I'm pretty sure it's not AI generated. I'm pretty sure those are human beings creating it. But
Buying off of
right,
their artists.
right. But if we had that capability where it's giving us more options and ideas really quickly, it's like with video editing, it can get very tedious. Like some of the things, like the most recent project I did was very tedious. It was just chopping and cutting here and adding text. Like sometimes when you use so Adobe Premiere Pro has the auto generative like caption system, but it's always off. It's wonky. Sometimes the spacing doesn't add up, especially when you change fonts. Like that's like the most annoying part for me, because I have to go through the whole thing and redo all of these spacing and everything.
Right.
But if it can do like those small menial tasks, then I think as creators or editors, you can really focus on the bigger picture and the story and all the elements that actually matter.
Yeah. One of the podcasts that I listen to, like, it's called All In, a podcast. A bunch of billionaires are talking. Rich guys are talking. I think they had a point where, instead of AI taking over your entire job, what you will become is you're basically the conductor of the orchestra, instead of you're a violinist or drummer or those technical side. Like, if you look at it historically too, back in the days, if you knew how to use the brushes, you were a really valuable person as a painter. But in 21st century, it was the person who could do the Photoshop that was very valuable. But their point is like, nowadays, if this gets evolved more and more, all the tedious tasks will be done by the computer, and your responsibility is to really know how to conduct it as a conductor, and really be able to manage the machines and also humans, I think.
Right. Yeah, if you have to do like 80% less tedious tasks on a daily basis, just imagine, I guess, the brain space you have left to think about other things.
I think you'll be happier too. Honestly, like fixing, what do you call it? Captions, they're not fun. Even like 1 minute clip, sometimes it takes about an hour if you don't do it well at the first round.
Right.
So those are very tedious. So if those are all gone, then I think you'll be much happier, and you'll be more willing to actually figure out different ways. Yeah, actually do it, not for casting.
I put off video editing sometimes.
Yeah. So I think those are the functionalities. It's not perfect, but there's other things that I was kind of like looking through. Adobe Podcast, that's another capability. If you're a subscriber of Adobe, if you throw an MP3 of your podcast voice, it'll automatically fix it for you. So you don't have to necessarily go through the whole EQ and debasing and all that. So it does it for you, and it does a pretty good job. What do you think about that?
I hate this audio, like Chuck at it. For the life of me, I watched a lot of videos, but the result is always shit. So it's great.
Yeah, sometimes for me too, like it sounds the same. Even if
it's the biggest headache for me. It's like I don't hear any difference.
Yeah, it's for the real specialists, and we're not really audio specialists.
No.
Those are very helpful. The audio. So yeah, Adobe tool for Adobe Podcasts. There's another fun stuff too, such as like voice AI. So that's where.
What was that?
I think that's where
it reads it for you, right?
That, and I think also it generates different version of the voice. So like if you want to be Obama, you could put the voice in and it'll translate.
That can go either way. It's very scary.
I think that can be a security issue later. I don't know. There might be. How do you authenticate who is who at the end of the day? But who knows? I don't know how that will turn out. But that's another capability. Another capability I found was also color intelligence. That one,
Yeah, the color matching thing.
yeah, color matching thing. I haven't tried it yet, but it does sound pretty pleasing, and some editors really like it. That's where you put out a bunch of, S-log videos or raw files, and you put a scene of a movie, let's say like Joker, and then
Oh, it matches it?
yeah, it said you can put in like match it with that.
Are you sure you're not going to the color deal?
I mean, it's still not perfect. So it gives you a baseline, and then you have to do some adjusting as well. But yeah, it got to that point, and yeah, you're right. Like sometimes I'm thinking, if you really think about it, all the cinema coloring, it's kind of the same. Like there's no real novelty, really. It's really just understanding the emotion of the story and matching the color with.
Right.
So yeah, those are interesting things that I found through like 5 hours of research, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's kind of in line with what's happening with social media. To just looking at TikTok nowadays, like you have CapCut with all these different templates, and if you use those, it takes you like 2 seconds to. Like some of those edits are very complicated to do manually. Like it'll take you more than a day.
Like green screens, right?
Yeah, like cuts and all those like animation, all that stuff. That would take forever to do if you had to do it manually. But nowadays, it's like everything's template. You have it at access to your phone. You don't need a computer. So I think it's kind of in line with like what's happening with AI. Of course, we're not AI specialists by no means, but just reading headlines and seeing what's happening on the very top surface. It's both social media and like everything else using AI and all those tools it's cool because I think it gives people more capabilities of telling their story in different ways. Yeah.
So are you scared of this transition?
No,
Because
I think there's always. I mean, you can't remove the human element of it.
no.
I don't think you can ever do that. Just like the experience that we had recently with the in-person event. We're for Right Shadow Battle Coaching. We're primarily the online program, but the in-person element that we did, you cannot replace that with robots.
Yeah.
In any sense.
And we briefly talked about it too, like while we were, I think after the event, like, there's all these machine learnings are happening, AIs are happening. What's left in the end? It's really the human interaction. It's really the capability to understand the other person and also love them in a way that they want. So I think that's our ultimate human function.
Yeah.
I mean, some people really go overboard in terms of thinking, humans might be different later on because this whole adaptation of AI might create a different mentality or different species. I don't know. I don't understand.
Well, I think human desire stays the same. Everyone wants to be loved. Everyone wants to be happy.
Yeah. But some people's argument is that, the rich people will take advantage of the whole AI stuff. But I don't know.
I see. I've seen headlines of that where people are like, oh yeah, they could control the narrative of the AI because you could like train an AI to go a very specific direction.
Yeah, and also in terms of training too. So this is one thing I found. Okay, so another thing that I found in terms of AI is the mid-journey. So this is a function. It's I guess it's an AI integrated within the Discord where you can type certain things and it'll generate art for you. So yeah, still AI is based on the supervisor's feedback. Right. So I was thinking, okay, let's say we keep using this for 1 year, but the feedbacks are coming from like teenagers, for example. Yeah. Their standard is completely different from other like high level artists.
Yeah.
So when I did it for like an hour, like just ballet related stuff plus like fashion or movies and stuff like that. But if you really look through the entire thing, it kind of looks the same. And I don't feel the uniqueness. Like for example, when I see Van Gogh painting, I really feel like this individual merely put in his personality and those like suffering and all that story within the painting.
Right.
But with AI, of course, it's nice, like with the color and all that. But I don't sense that feeling. I don't know. I might be biased, but That's how I felt.
Hey man, I don't know anything about art. If I look at Van Gogh, it's like, nice. It's the guy who cut his ear off, right? That doesn't mean I have no human feelings. I think I'm very sensitive. It'll be very hard for me to empathize with other people if I wasn't. Just that, I guess it's a painting. Yeah.
Yeah, so even with the Chat GPT, so that's another AI where it became very popular recently. If you go to the Chat GPT, so a lot of times it's like kind of it's at capacity at all times, so you can't even log in this thing.
No, yeah. I tried it for the first time. It was yesterday. It's like high volume.
Yeah, it's
supposed to wait.
and yeah, nowadays that's normal, and so the volume is so high right now, and they're just barely keeping up. But even with that too, like if you try to put in some copy, it does generate some level of like nice level of copy, but it can be better. So I think there's still so many ways to go in terms of perfecting it.
That's enough of AI.
Yeah.
We're not AI specialists. We don't know shit. We're just reading headlines. What else do you want to talk about? Yeah, I guess, I think one of the personal purpose for me doing this is just documenting.
Yeah.
In the case that I become a billionaire. That's but like, just something to look back on. It's like, oh yeah, that was cute. We were worried about those little things. Which is kind of like what Alex brings up a lot. But one of the things that I wanted to talk about was what is this? Yeah, so like one thing that Alex mentioned a lot in his videos is being able to sell from your back heels. Like meaning like you're very relaxed. Not relaxed, but like you don't have the salesman breath. Like you're not desperate for a sale. And when you hear that, it's like, oh, that's nice. But I think if you actually go in and implement some of the things that he shares, it does feel great. But you have a lot. Ultimately you have the upper hand in the whole conversation because you understand what they want and you understand your product really well. And on top of that, you have like a flow or like some process in place, which like we did before.
Yeah.
With enemies, there's still a lot of process that I need to build into our sales funnel and everything for one particular client and our own. But just having those things brings so much clarity into what you're doing. And when you have clarity in what you're selling with a system to sell it, and you have conviction in the product. That's, I think, where I felt most at ease when it comes to sales. Because, like, before, it's like, sales. What the hell? I don't want to do that. But, like, for one other client, that was literally the front desk selling $39 offers, like introductory offers to get, turn leads into semi-paying customers and then eventually into customers.
Yeah.
But after doing that, dozens of times, it gets to a point of like, you really trust the system. So because you have a system in place and you know exactly what you need to say, you spend a lot more time listening to what they want, what their desire is. Because I think for when at least if you're very inexperienced, like me, and you're unsure of what to say or what to even do, you forget to listen. And of course, one of the things you don't want to do in a sales conversation is info dump. Even if I do talk, there are portions on a sales call that I would talk a lot, but that's only because I know I have an understanding of what their objections are, what their fears are. But to help them kind of work through the idea of like, will this work for me and can this work for me? I try to share a little bit of like, hey, look, like this lady who is kind of like in your position, had the same concerns, went through this process and came out the other side a completely different person. So, yeah, I think those three elements, when you have that, it's a lot easier to sell. You have a lot more conviction and a lot more confidence. And that definitely translates to the other person, right? That energy. It's just you're fucking nervous. You have no idea what the hell you're doing. they're gonna have, because they have no idea what they're doing, because they're so unsure about themselves. So I thought that was like a really cool observation for me. And then, I'm just like, I don't embrace myself as like a salesperson, but I'm not scared to do sales as much, right? I haven't done like, 5-figure, 6-figure deals, and hopefully one day I do that. But yeah, it's just
Getting
more fun. Yeah.
we're getting there for higher products too. And so in terms of conviction, how did we build that? I think it's important to know, like whether you sell pictures or ballet classes, bigger packages.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's volume. You have enough evidence to prove otherwise. You have enough evidence to prove against your doubt, which I think that's how Alex phrased it. But that's absolutely true. You have undeniable proof, results, right? And when you have that, when you see it over and over and over again, it's like you believe in the product so much. You know it's going to work. And based on the circumstance that you have in front of you, like whether that person is ready or not, that's something we have to assess by asking the right questions. But I think that's how you build conviction. Yeah. Lots of reps.
Let me just check the audio. Hello. Which one is number 3? Main. This one?
Yeah, I'm number 1.
You're number 1.
Is it?
Where's the microphone?
1.
Oh, okay, so we're good, right?
Yeah. Check with the blue. Shit, man. We're 24 minutes there, man.
Let me just double check.
I mean, we have this mic.
Yeah. Hello. Okay, we're good. Okay. Yeah, multitasking, guys. This is not ideal, but not a lot of people do it.
Oh, it will save a lot of editing time.
Yeah.
Just this itself, like, let's imagine, everybody. It's 4K videos, right? We spend 25 minutes. That's probably, how many gigabytes is that?
20 minutes, probably around at least 50.
Okay, 50 times 3. How many gigabytes you got? That's gonna crash your Premiere Pro most definitely.
Yeah.
Unless you're proxy or you have a nice computer.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So it's helping. Conviction definitely it comes through repetition. And I think we can talk about as a marketer how we're helping these creative people. We have an experience with for example the online ballet academy where she has a good product. She has a lot of results too, but sometimes she's unsure like where to go and stuff like that. So how do we help in that kind of situation?
I think it's the same issues that sometimes we have too when you're looking at your own product and your own whatever you're doing, your services. It's really hard to see from outside perspective. But I think that's generally what we bring to the table for that relationship. So we went in there and kind of organized a lot of things based on what we learned before.
Yeah.
I think if I hadn't gone through and built out the initial sales process for other clients and haven't gone through that process, I wouldn't have enough conviction in myself to know that this can definitely help. It may not be the right answer. The version 1 may not be the right answer, but it'll definitely get from closer to the ultimate goal. So yeah, we went in there and organized kind of the flow of how things should go when it comes to delivering because she knows how to deliver the product. She knows how to fulfill it.
Yeah, because just for background. So what she was trying to do is she's trying to make a bigger product away from the main product, which is like online class and plus private. So we try to make a more long-lasting, or how do you call it, like more.
Maya, I hope you're okay sharing this.
Oh yeah, I mean you don't have to go into so much detail. We can cut it up.
Yeah, it's higher engagement.
Higher engagement product.
Longer engagement too.
I mean, it's human nature. Sometimes you can't look. You need someone who can tell you like from the outside perspective of if you're doing right.
Right.
I think that's human nature.
Yeah.
Yeah, I struggle with that too sometimes. Like, am I doing it right?
Right. Yeah, because we have so much doubts about ourselves,
Yeah.
even though there's enough evidence to show otherwise.
Yeah.
But I think that's where the volume comes in, because she knows she can do it. It's just a matter of like, how do you structure it and present it in a way that's understandable for the other party, but make it simple enough too. Because I think a lot of times when, I don't know, maybe I can't generalize, put a general blanket statement, but I think sometimes when people build products or services, they only think about from their perspective. And this is where sometimes I run into it myself as well. That's when I run into mental blocks. So I'm not thinking about the other person. I'm thinking about, how can I increase the margins? How can I make this most beneficial and convenient for me? How can I make, it's all about me. But that's when I hit a lot of roadblocks, as opposed to if I think truly about how can I help this person, then it's so much easier. Because you can always start that way and, try to put, so that's what we actually did. This was a couple-week process, actually. But initially we were like, okay, let's try to put as much in there as possible. Stack as many things, and this is something I'll talk about later, that we learned from Alex, is, stack as many things as possible. But then at the end of the day, we asked ourselves, what is, and she identified it, what is the thing that will actually drive the results? And we take that piece and expand on it, as opposed to, stacking bonuses and all that stuff is good, but if the core thing is not emphasized enough or is completely missing, then, you have a mediocre product. The offer is not as good.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. While we're on the topic,
Yeah.
so everybody, get your book today. So anyways, so I briefly mentioned the value stacking. I read this a couple times already, and I always review it when I'm trying to think of what's missing in our product, in our service. And then what helps us a lot is the value equation. So he has the top portion of the equation, which is what most of us focus on, the dream outcome, and the second part, I forget.
Dream outcome, perceived likelihood of achieving.
Yeah. So the dream outcome and perceived likelihood of achievement. So that's like your outrageous promise and all the testimonials to kind of show that it can happen. But then on the bottom side of the equation, there's time and sacrifice/effort, which is something that we don't always think about. So just having that framework available to us, like, it's so helpful, because you have a certain guideline. Because, like, how do you measure value? Like, what do you, there's no measuring stick for it. But this gives us idea of, are we going in the right direction at least? And then we test it and then see if it works. And if it didn't work, then we go back and tweak it a little bit.
Yeah.
Just like kind of like in science, you have a hypothesis and test one thing at a time, not a gazillion things at the same time. Yeah. It's the same thing. It's like you lay out all the different elements and see which one is the most valuable, depending on what problem you're solving, and depending on what part of the equation you're trying to plug it into, right? So, like, I'm not gonna explain the value equation. You guys can.
But one thing I want to point out is pricing is not part of the equation.
No, yeah. That's
one thing I always one thing I learned today too. So I follow Dan Kennedy a lot with his membership stuff, and he mentioned about like a tuxedo company where they existed for a long time. They've been doing like buy one get one free, buy two get one free, buy five get, or buy one get five for free. But in the end, the revenue kept going down and down and down. Yeah. Even if you're giving up a lot of free stuff, it's because they don't value it. They don't value it. And I think that's a very good emphasis, and something we have to really remind ourselves. Sometimes it's scary, especially if you don't have like a strong brand. You're scared to put out a very high ticket or expensive product. Yeah. But if you really think about it, people really don't buy based on the price. It's really based on what they're going through, what is their desire, and do you really have a solution for that specific thing? I think that's really important to remember.
Yeah.
As a marketer and as a business owner, even if the economy goes bad, instead of really, trying to make everything cheaper, I think you should, like Isaac said, value stack it. What else can we give within this price point that we set, and how can we over deliver? I think that's the most important part. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's also playing the longer game too. That's something sometimes we forget too. It's like, we're small business too. We need cash flow.
Yeah.
We need money in the bank and stuff like that. But if you think long term, like, discounts is not gonna solve the problem.
No.
At the end of the day. And some people say like, oh, the price is too high, but I think we've been, I guess, trained enough to understand that they're not really talking about the price. Of course, we're not sales experts or anything, so we're just speaking on our experience. So I always try to think of like, okay, what did I not explain, or what did I not address to make them feel that this is not valuable, this is not worth my money or time. So yeah.
Yeah, I think, they have to value it at first. And
Yeah, so one other thing about the value equation is, like, of course it helps us build a great offer, and this is something we're still working on, as we haven't done it enough. Again, at the end of the day, it's just more reps. But then, like, when you go through that exercise, you have an idea of how to do the sales, because you know all the objections and all the problems, or at least you've identified the ones that you are aware of through this process. And then at the end, on top of that, you have an idea of how to market it. So it's just like a triple whammy when you kind of follow that process. So I thought that's like really neat. Like, Alex is a very systematic thinking guy.
yeah,
It's like a robot kind of.
it's important. You need systems.
Yeah, so the other thing that he talks about in the book is when you have a hungry market versus an overly saturated market.
You should talk about that.
Yeah, because we experience this. It's like when you read the book, it's like, oh, wow, that sounds really cool in theory. But you have no idea if it's like actually true or not. But we experienced it recently. It's like, wow, what the fuck?
Yeah, can you explain what hungry market means?
Yeah, so it's like very underserved. There's a lot of, so like, let's take, for example, the example that's given in the book is, a hot dog stand at a football stadium, but you're the only hot dog stand. There's a ton of hungry people, like literally hungry people. And you might have a very mediocre hot dog. Maybe it's been just boiling water for like 3 hours. I don't know how to cook hot dogs. Okay. Maybe that's the case, and you have no condiments. Imagine that you have no condiments, but you have 10,000 people that are hungry. They're gonna still buy it. So that's what we mean by hungry market.
And you can go explain further. I jumped in.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So like the experience that we had is going into Asia with Ranchadu Valley Coaching and our program there, because we had no idea what we're getting into, honestly. To be very honest.
Yeah, initially we were thinking, why are we going to Asia? We got enough people here.
It's like America's the land of opportunity. It is. It absolutely is.
I think it still is. Yeah.
But I think it's part of it is like we're unclear of what's out there. But I always have a lot of respect for Mr. Dude. He is a go-getter. He is not scared. He just goes. But anyways, I had a lot of doubts on myself when we were putting together the program for Singapore. So I was like telling Josh, like, maybe at best we'll sell 50%. So, we got to prepare. We got to prepare for this. So I'm like sitting here panicking. But I knew DuCon, like, which is the in-person program that we have for that client, for that business. We knew that it worked really well in America, but we never done it in Asia.
Yeah. And I mean, that was like, when we did our summer, that was our only like second event for that program.
Well, that was the first time we were actually manning it.
Yeah, first event, we were sick, so we couldn't even show up. But yeah, I mean, It's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, so I'm sitting there panicking. It's like this is crazy. I don't know if it's gonna work. And then we shared the registration link to our partners to get them to to troubleshoot it and check the spelling and all the details on it. Well, somehow it got leaked. I was at like 12 a.m. I see the first registration. That's not supposed to happen. Good thing I tested everything myself, so I knew it was good, but I just wanted them to take a look at it. But then, like within, because I was still awake at 12 a.m. I remember, and it got to like 2 a.m. I was playing FIFA midway. I saw like 8 registrations. For us to do that in America, it can take a couple of weeks to do that.
Even sometimes 2 months.
Yeah. Because like, timing, and there's so much more competition. Like again, like hungry market versus saturated market. In America, there's a lot of in-person products or programs that are kind of like ours that we put together with Mr. Do that have a lot of the same elements. So it's like, there's a lot of options for people. But yeah, anyways, it's 2 a.m. 8 people signed up. Like, wow, okay, that's great. I can go to sleep now. I sleep, I wake up, and it's like even more people signed up. Like, what the hell's going on? We haven't publicly announced it yet. We didn't even know that the partners spread it to the people yet either. And then what happened after that? Yeah.
It just kept rolling.
Yeah, it just kept rolling. And we were like, oh my God, there's so many people. How are we going to handle this? So like almost every night for 4 nights, I stayed up until like 3 or 4 just to make sure, because everything was manual. I didn't have like countdown of inventory.
Like a stopper.
Yeah, there was no stopper, so I had to stop it manually every time. But like within 4 days of publicly announcing, we're completely sold out for 150 spots. And this is not a super. This is by no standards a cheap program for Singapore.
Yeah.
Because the way we priced it, I thought we priced it a little bit lower than what we should have, because we have a certain pricing that we do in America. But of course, price is just a number. So I was trying to follow that as much as possible. So we slightly adjusted it, thinking like, because Asia and American currency, we're charging everything in US dollars. So we have to consider, okay, there's currency difference. Yeah. Like people don't make as much money as they do in America, which is not true. At least for the market that we're going after. But yeah, it was a completely hungry market. Very underserved. So it was big, but we also put a very good product. I definitely, even then, I was still doubtful. It's like, is this gonna work? But it worked, yeah. But that was a real life experience of having a hot dog stand at a football stadium. The only hot dog stand.
That is true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we had our unique selling point, which was the teachers from outside the Asia.
Yeah.
And they are very proficient.
Yeah.
And we try to keep our brand too in terms of how we serve, which is like very careful with kindness. That's our brand with the students and adult students as well. And it worked out, I think. Yeah, it's a little bit of combination of both. Like, yes, hungry market, you can sell anything and it'll sell, and that is true. But like for me too, like even after I sold out, I wasn't really happy, like like Jolly Wally. I was actually thinking, okay, we have to make sure we serve them really well. Otherwise, we're screwed. That's how I feel.
Damn, I thought I was paranoid. Shit, that's kind of paranoid.
Because like one thing I learned recently too, like yes, first purchase is great, but you should value your client satisfaction on your second purchase. And that's how I feel. Like yes, we can always sell out on the first purchase because people are excited. It's something new, and there's new stuff coming in. They're excited. But how can we over deliver so that the second time they come in is no brainer for them again? They don't have to hesitate. They don't have to compare with another program, for example. So I was thinking like, oh my God, this is gonna be, we have to really put our stuff together, and that's why we brought some equipments here to test before we go there, because we're gonna like do a big production. Not really big, but like in our standards, big. So we're testing stuff and stuff like that. I mean, we're very happy. We're grateful that this opportunity showed up. But I think Yeah, like we kind of talked, in person. Like service is also brand. So you have to really make sure you serve them well while we're there.
But yeah, we're confident that we'll knock it out of the park.
Yeah.
Because Asians have pretty high standards.
Oh yeah, they they don't joke around. They're gonna tell you straight up if it's bad.
American service is like very mediocre compared to Asian levels. But I think one other interesting thing that's different about Asia and America is the crowd effect.
Oh yeah.
So when a friend signs up, you sign up too. 'Cause she signed up. She can't have it. Just her, she can't. You gotta have it too. So that's definitely stronger in Asia than it is in America. So it could go both ways, right? Like you can go the wrong way, and everyone says something bad about it. Then no one signed it,
Yeah.
right? So it could go both ways. But in America, it's because it's such a you do you type of culture here, at least from our experience. I identify myself as American. But it's definitely different. There is some element of like FOMO and like, oh, I don't want to miss out anywhere you go in the world. But I think it's particularly stronger in Asia, and also Singapore is a really tiny country.
Yeah.
Like you could drive across it. I mean, I've never done it yet, but I think hypothetically you could drive across it in less than an hour. No, the whole country, so it's really small.
Yeah. Yeah, those are good experiences for us.
So the other thing that, kind of everything, all this ties in because like, these are all real life experiences. It's the brand effect. I think, remember when we made the Jeong Media for Now, the marketing for the ballet teachers?
Yeah.
We just put together whatever we knew. Even then, I was still not 100% convinced of what we were doing on social media. I knew it worked, but it's like we've had cases where it didn't work out as well. We've had clients that kind of fell out because of different reasons. And of course, in every case, there's things we can do better on. That doesn't mean, we left something in the tank or we left something on the field and didn't give our 100%. But I think just seeing how our most recent event turned out for Rancho de Bella coaching and having all the conversations with people, because most people, how did they hear about it? Oh, we heard it on Instagram, and then I watched all the videos and I liked everyone doing, and some people went as far as like, yeah, I spied all of you guys. I checked out your personal profile, your business profile. Because they had to make sure they knew what they were getting into. But because everything was consistent, the branding was consistent, they had no problem with it. And so that's part of it. And because when you do push out so much content very consistently with the consistent tone, and I'm not talking about color, font. That's not fucking consistency in tone. I'm talking about like messaging and like values and like our vision, stuff like that. Because I think that's displayed through your work too. It's very hard to hide that from your work. But anyways, I think ultimately that attracts the right people, and that attracted very similar people in many cases, but for the right reasons. And we didn't have a single person that was a Karen. That, not saying all Karens are bad. Please don't. Let me rephrase it. We didn't have anyone complain about like this, that, or the other, which we were very grateful for. Everyone was very thoughtful. Everyone was very appreciative of all the things that we are doing behind the scenes, because sometimes, some people don't recognize that. But I think because of their background, they work hard themselves in their own professions, and they have their own level of accomplishments. They know what it takes to make a good experience. So, doing branding that way with social media can definitely make it easier to attract the right people, because of course there's different ways to do sales, and there's probably more efficient ways to do it, but it's just our experience, right?
I mean, just to add, like, so again, back to Dan Kennedy, the reason why they write such a long copy in a landing page It's because the longer they stay, they're the more likely to buy. So I think it's of course content is a little bit different, but I think that's the same concept. Like because they saw us for such a long time, they're very likely to convert if or just associate with you as a person.
Yeah.
And just be open to what you're offering. I think that's just human nature.
Right.
And sometimes if you really like adult students, for example, like in ballet world, they watch other adults are doing, watch other adults are doing. So yes, you can learn by yourself by watching those contents by yourself, but would you do that if there's a good teacher and you can afford it? Right. So I think that's a human effect where
Yeah.
if you really lay out those relationships beforehand, then it's like they're more familiar with you, they're more open to you, so they're just gonna purchase what if they need it.
Right. And there's almost an immediate trust, which is still so amazing. Like all these Zoom calls that I had prior to the event, like more than 80% converted into sales. I was not hard selling on the call. My purpose was to help them make a decision by giving them the right information. That was always my intention. I never got in there thinking I'm gonna close this shit today. But because they were all so aware of the brand for such a long time, was just taking order. It's just taking order, like
Visa or MasterCard.
I didn't do that on the call. I was very, very more thoughtful about it. Of course, I could have. I don't think they would have said no if I did say. It was really just taking orders at that point. So it's really amusing how much of a difference it can make, especially for people like me who don't come from. I mean, of course, all salesmen are like professional salespeople are trained properly over time and lots of experience. I didn't have that. I still don't have that. But all of the branding is kind of like our way of doing sales. It's like it just makes the conversation easier. They know what they're getting into already. Their questions are either very thoughtful or very simple questions. It's like, oh, I just want to double check on XYZ. And you say, yeah, that's right, and explain a little bit, and they feel at ease. Because I think for the most part, those Zoom calls was just, are these people real? I think that's what they were checking.
Are they genuine?
Yeah. Are they real people behind the scenes? But just showing up to all the Zoom calls and everyone seeing that we were real, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
let's do it. So I think that was always great. And it's always, fun to meet them in person as well. Yeah. Of course, because we were so busy, I didn't get to spend as much time with everyone. But the conversations that I did have with some of the people was very interesting.
Yeah. That's good.
Brian, hold on. Just like, more recently, I've done a lot more sales-related activities, which is something we avoid.
The passion. It is.
But I knew I had to learn it. But, going through that experience, like I said before, it's a whole lot different when you've actually experienced it and read the materials. Because it makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
And you understand why certain things were presented the way it was presented. Like, for example, like all of Alex's sales videos on YouTube. It's like, oh, that makes a lot more sense now. As before, when it's just like all imagination, no clarity, fear, very uncomfortable and not confident in yourself. But I think, just going through that. But and this is one of the things that I was listening to yesterday on this podcast. It's like, we should be more grateful of all the people that share all this information on YouTube. Yeah. Obviously, right now for us, we don't have a whole lot to share. We're just sharing whatever fuck we're doing right now. We're just, I think and I think I'm having a lot more fun today than before. So I'm not fucking trying to convince anyone with this fucking content. It's just us documenting, like, what are we doing? We know we're not gonna make any fucking money out of these videos, but that's not our intention. Our intention is to really share what we've learned and a week in, hopefully that helps one person out there.
Yeah. So,
You don't have to force it, man. We're already at 53-minute mark.
oh yeah, it's already 1 hour. Wow.
It's all
This is really easy way to make content, guys.
Time
Just make podcasts.
you gotta make sure it's good content. No one's watching that shit. What else was there? I was gonna do like trend reviews and shit like that. There's some fun stuff that I see on TikTok, especially with the soccer accounts. All the weird sounds they put together.
We should do that, actually. Because I think, even with our editors, the reason why I started sharing all those, like, what I learned is because I think they don't know.
No, yeah, there's a gap.
There's a huge gap, and then we can't expect them to know because they're busy too. I'm like, are they going to research trends for, like,
Put
click in it real quick?
You should know.
Like, I started doing like a board sharing within our team, like trends I see, what I learned, how can you be more creative, what are the tools. Yeah, I think let's do that. Like, let's do that next time.
Yeah.
And share the trends. Actually, like, do you still see like common trends that people use? Because in my feed, everything's very like sporadic, and TikTok especially.
I think that's just natural. I mean, there's still definitely trends. Like the most recent trends. I don't know why you see so many goddamn new jeans video. You know what new jeans is?
No.
It's a girl code. the Godzilla thing I shared. That's new jeans. Oh my god. Anyways, there are definitely trends that still, very viral and stuff like that. But I think it's just the nature of more creators, more different types of content.
Going more oversized.
Yeah, and you have a very, like, on my feed, I see animals getting eaten alive. Like Animal Planet stuff, right? Like a lion hunting a gazelle or whatever. Lots of soccer and lots of Korean stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I recently started using my other account that we were supposed to use to find trends. Because my algorithm on my own account, I think it's too sporadic. I'm just watching news, soccer, and a little bit of photography. But yeah, I need to get back on that. Okay, let's do that next time. Yeah.
There was something else I want to say. Anyways, everybody, that's it for today.
Thank you. All right, 1, 2, 3.
Oh, look, no lights went off, right?
Oh, it's good.